Hi, Clutter Fairy fans. This is the Clutter Fairy Weekly for August 27th, 2024. I'm your co-host, Ed Gumnick, and I'm speaking with Gayle Goddard, certified professional organizer and owner of the Clutter Fairy in Houston, Texas.
Hi, everybody. The Clutter Fairy Weekly is the webcast and podcast that digs deep into the clutter that piles up between you and the life you want to be living. We explore the habits and behaviors that lead to clutter, and we suggest strategies to slow the accumulation, reduce the collection, and comfortably manage the stuff we decide to keep.
If you're new to our Zoom meeting, we want to let you know that you can share your comments and questions via the chat, and I'll try to make sure Gayle addresses them before we move on to another topic. You can also use the raise hand feature if you'd like to ask a question or make a comment yourself via audio or video. And we're streaming the webcast live on Facebook, so you can share your questions and comments there, and I'll relay them to Gayle. We're going to start by recapping the Weekly Tittle from 3 weeks ago,
From
which
eons ago.
ages and ages ago, which was called Identity Clutter Challenge. The assignment was to evaluate a possible item of identity clutter in your home. Let's hear from our participants in Zoom and on Facebook who identified and evaluated an item of identity clutter this week. Please let us know in the comments. Listener Kathy shared her tittle report in a YouTube comment. Kathy writes, I'm getting rid of my books on clay beads and how to make them, giving them to a clay artist in my area. I only took one class on making clay beads, gave my sister the toaster oven that I bought to bake clay beads, which I never used to bake a bead. I'm still looking for all the clay to give to the local artist. Also cleaned out my sock drawer.
Thank you, Kathy. This is a perfect example of identity clutter. You tried out making the clay beads and you took a class, explore the idea, didn't really catch fire for you. And so you have tools and materials that now are being used. Passing them on to another artist who will use the clay is a great idea. Maybe you can give it to the teacher of the class that you took and she can pass them on for you. Or if you have an artist in mind, that's great too. So great example of the identity clutter tittle and perfect thing for you to surrender all of the pieces. It wasn't your thing. It what didn't become your new passion. And so you can send it on to the next person. And that's a great thing to get out of the house. Thank you for sharing.
I wonder too whether the cleaning out the sock drawer represented progress against identity clutter. I have definitely known people who for whom socks were an important part of the wardrobe. You know, they
Mm-hmm.
always had some. One of my roommates in college never seemed to wear the same pair of socks twice. He had all these brightly colored and patterned socks,
That was his
and
thing. That was his
that was his
accessory.
thing. So I can imagine him needing to clear the sock drawer to clean up sock identities
Right.
that have now
It's
faded into
also
history.
socks are an easy gift. I know lots of people,
Mm,
particularly at the holidays, will buy themed socks to give people as a cheap and easy, fun gift for filling in for the holidays. And so it's always something that gets added to people's collections from others as well as from yourself.
JB reports making another delivery to the women's domestic violence shelter this afternoon and
Ooh,
adds call first to see what they need and don't. That's a good idea if you're planning to donate to a shelter. Um,
that's excellent.
Deborah reports progress in the wrong direction. We're not going to call it.
Oh,
We're going to.
Deborah, no.
She says, I went to Canada for a family wedding and went nuts shopping. Had to bring back an extra suitcase. Oops. Everything is so much cheaper and more available there.
There you go. All right. Well, so we're not going to give you a hard time about it because I totally get that, panic. Oh my gosh, look, everything's cheap and easy. And so totally get that. And we're just going to rely on the fact that you have been very good about, you live in a small space. You've been managing your small space very well. You probably have room to absorb a little bit anyway. You already minimized your apartment. So you can just, you can absorb a little shopping spree for yourself.
Time for just a little binge.
Just yeah, right, without too much.
Welcome
And maybe
to
you
uh,
could do the one in, one out thing, right? So you can put some new things in and take some things out.
welcome to CJ, who says this is my first time here live, but I always watch the replays on YouTube.
Oh, so
CJ
glad
is
you
with
came
us in
live.
Zoom
Thank
for the
you.
first time.
Hello.
Let's see. Joy says, I gave away most of my holiday and theme socks when I retired from teaching.
All right. That's a very kid-centric thing, right?
Oh, and Anita says socks and earrings have always been rewards while in a weight losing phase.
Oh,
That makes a lot of sense. There are things you can buy anytime, no matter whether you're aiming to shift a size or not,
yeah, yeah, exactly.
unless you lose so much weight that your feet shrink.
Is that even possible? I'm not
Well,
sure
no,
that's
not
even
really.
possible.
I'm in that the category that I have to buy whatever they sell as extra large men's socks,
Mhm.
which are just absurd. It's like me and basketball players, wear these socks.
I know, right?
Let's see what else. Naomi says, thought about my knitting supplies and decided to keep them. They don't take up much space, and I expect to knit again as the next generation of babies comes along. I thought about my books and decided to appoint a library executor instead of culling now. We'll be taking some stuff to the reuse center, like the artist place you have described in Houston.
Right, right, right. That'd be great. I'm sure, just like Kathy was saying earlier, that she took a class about clay. If somebody wants to explore and learn about knitting, if some of your books are at the reuse center, it'll be an inexpensive way for them to buy a used book and try out and see if they think knitting is fun. And so you'll be helping somebody explore a new craft someday. So great idea.
Naomi went on to say, we'll be taking stuff to the reuse center because I have to pick up stacks of yogurt containers to transplant plant cuttings into. So not making net progress this month. Oops.
That's okay if you're gonna make a bunch of plantings out of it. I'm guessing you're gonna are you giving plantings away? Is it something that you go and plant in your yard? Is it prep for a bigger project is my question.
Okay,
We'll let her answer this.
I think we should get on with the main topic because I have a hunch you're going to have a lot to say about this topic.
Okay,
Noth-
y'all.
Nothing challenges an organizer's professional skills and expertise quite like putting principles into real-world action to move her own household. Today, we're going to talk about best practices of move planning, packing, moving, and unpacking from the fresh perspective of Gayle's having just moved into her new house.
Oh man, y'all, my feet hurt so much. I just moved on this past Saturday, and my step count that day was 18,729.
Woo!
That is a big count for me, and my dogs are barking. My move took 9 hours with five guys for the loading half, and they picked up two more people for the unload half. Those seven guys sweated their guts out in the August Texas heat all day for me. And I'm so grateful they did it. I'm in my new home and looking at a stack of boxes for sure, but they are at least in the right rooms and I can move around the house easily. And my friend Penny was able to come stay with me and help me start the unpack. So overall, I can say it was a successful move. My feet are currently disputing that fact, though. Next, let me say thanks to my friend Karen, who some of you remember as a guest host in the past. She's letting me broadcast from her house today since I don't actually have internet in the new house yet. This was not part of the plan, but we have to adapt. Turns out we could not actually just get the service turned on Saturday. We had to book a technician to come out instead. So I didn't get internet up. I won't have internet until this coming Sunday. I'm hoping there will be no more snafus. Luckily, in this day and age, I can hotspot my phone and use that with my computer until then. And, best laid plans, right? We thought we would have internet on Saturday and it didn't turn out. So Karen is helping us solve that problem, and I appreciate her temporary my invasion of her office temporarily. Thank you so much. So let's talk about our main topic today. Ed suggested I talk about four main areas. So I'm going to discuss move planning, packing, moving, and unpacking in that order. And we're going to start with move planning. As most of our listeners know already, this move was not my idea to begin with, but a result of a 30% rent increase that I just refused to absorb. So after a month of being irritated about it, I started house hunting and ended up buying a house. A major change for sure. And a surprise, it was not on my bingo card for 2024. But life is what happens to you when you're busy making other plans. I've said many times over the last 2 months that moves take a lot of time and energy to get done in order to get them done without killing yourself. And I would have liked 4 months to prepare when I only had two. I had to keep seeing clients, of course, during all this and doing my work after and doing the move prep work after hours and on the weekends in order to get ready. So at the beginning of the 2 months, I evaluated the schedule before the plan to move out in August. And I paid the rent for the month of August so I could have the whole month to get out. And then I blocked off one weekend day each week in July because clients had actually booked some of those days already. And then I booked every weekend. I blocked out every weekend in August. So the clients couldn't book any time in August. And then I checked on my labor force to help with the job. And I did that by emailing all of my friends. And I said, I need help. Here are the dates of when I'm working at home. Who can help me on what day? And my friends came through big time. Every one of my beadie friends came at various times to help pack up beads, which is really delicate wrapping process to prevent broken glass, as well as packing in other areas. And for all of those days that I blocked off on the calendar, someone came over to help with the packing most of those days. So I made that request of everyone early on and gave them date options so that they could choose what worked for their schedule. And they totally came through for me. I will owe them forever for what they've done for me the last 8 weeks. Another element of the planning process was deciding when to have the movers come. I knew my closing date was at the 6 week mark, mid-August. And I didn't think I could make that target for the actual move. So 6 weeks was too soon. So I hired their movers to come week 4 of August instead of week 3, right after closing. That gave me another week to purge and pack. And lastly, I planned the cleanup afterwards. So my scheduled move on Saturday left a week to clean out the house since I have to return to full-time work tomorrow. So by August 31st, the whole process should be complete. I'm moved. The old house will be cleaned out and it'll be ready to, here's the keys back to the landlord and we will be all done, right? Yay. Next up, let's discuss the packing. This is topic number 2. You guys should know I was on the verge of tears a few times in this process because packing takes forever. And I did not want to take anything that I didn't need anymore or that wouldn't work in the new house. Over the 2 months of packing, I managed to fill up my front entry hall with donations 4 different times. And my friends Michael and Lorena came and took the donations away for me every time. They saved me scheduling several trips, and that was their big gift to me, to retrieve and drop off my hallway full of stuff 4 different times. That was so many boxes that didn't get packed because they removed the excess that was hiding in my house, or the stuff that was rendered obsolete by going to the new house that wouldn't actually use it. So I spent a lot of time in the early weeks trying to get through every cabinet, drawer, closet, container, etc., to withdraw what didn't need to go and get it gone up front.
Can you
Later
talk a
we
moment
Yes, yes,
about
yes.
what, uh, just briefly categorize what the donations were?
So there was some level, there was some clothing stuff, there
Mhm.
was some kitchen gear. So when I had a roommate who cooked, there was a whole lot more gear in the kitchen. And when she moved to California, she packed up and took her favorite stuff. But then there ended up being extra pots and pans, knives, whatever, random stuff in the kitchen that I would never use because I'm not much of a cook. So I did go through the kitchen and sent, like, I had 2 crock pots and I had there were styles of baking dishes and styles of pans that I would never use because they weren't I'm not sophisticated enough to use them, I guess is what I'm saying. So there was all kinds of gear that she didn't take with her that was not, Ed could have used them, but I wouldn't have been able to
Right.
use them. So a lot of that went out. And there was I went through my mugs again. I went through the glassware again. I went through the drawers again. There was a lot of, spoons and knives, cooking utensils that were probably not things I was going to use as well. And so I just was able to get rid of all the stuff that was too fancy for me and send all that stuff down the road. The books, oh my gosh. So when I had moved into this house, I had brought with me probably 4 bookcases worth of books because it was a collection of things that I had read before we had e-readers before we could read on the phone, before like I'd had those things for a while. And so they moved with me at the time, a decade ago, because I was still not actively using a Nook.
Mm-hmm.
But that transition, of course, over this decade. And so now I had 4 million books that were ready to go out. So I got rid of probably 85% of my book collection, and I moved 3 boxes of books instead of what probably would have been 15 boxes of books. So I had to go to the Better World Book kiosk and throw books in many, many times. And I still have 2 more bags that need to be dropped off into the box. So I got rid of a lot of paper books. That was a big one. Gosh, there was just so many things everywhere I went. There was things in the bathroom, there was things in the closet, there was things, every drawer had something. It's like, I don't need that, I don't need that. And then there were also things like I had a cabinet that was for the television. And so I had a TV that sat in this cabinet, and that was the how I watched the TV. And that cabinet came from my previous house, and it was used the same way there. But in the new house, there wasn't really a place where I wanted that cabinet to be, and I wanted to be able to hang the television in the new house instead.
Mm-hmm.
And so that piece of furniture became obsolete. And I didn't, it's like, I'm not going to try to, it's a big, tall, deep cabinet thing. And I didn't want to try to work that in somewhere.
Yeah.
And so out it goes.
Excellent.
The layout of the house is different. So I have one great big room that is living room, dining room attached to kitchen. I mean, anybody that saw the pictures that I posted on Facebook, it's one big great room instead of several different rooms. And so there's a lot less wall space because it just became one big room. And so there's less places to put furniture up against. And so I'm leaving behind and having picked up several pieces of furniture that don't make sense in the new space. There was a bunch of stuff in the garage that had to go. Like, it had been a while since I cleaned out my garage. So a lot of the
Okay.
garage ended up in the bagster. So that's my update on that.
Okay, I'll let you get back to talking about packing.
Okay. Oh, so the later weeks were packing things that I'd gone through and declared that were going to the new space, because I had been through and sorted everything already, and gone through and purging and been purging things. And so the later 3 weeks were more about packing what I'd already gone through. And this is where my friends helped so much, because I could just point them at an area and say, go pack. And that's what they did. I used about 85 boxes out of the 100 boxes that I bought, and my friends helped pack a good portion of them. I was packing alone at night during the week, and then they kicked in over the weekends mostly, and it made a huge difference. I really couldn't have done it without my army of friends. Just in case, as part of the planning, I reserved one day of the movers packing. So typically when movers pack, they pack the day before the move or a couple of days before the move. And so I reserved one day before the move just in case, with the right to cancel it at the last minute. And I didn't end up actually using them because we got it all done. So I was able to save that cost because of all the work that my friends did. Thank you so much. But I did want to give myself the option, because you never know exactly if you're going to make it or not. And so when I booked the move early on in July, I also scheduled that day. And then she called me about 3 days before and said, "Hey, are you going to need the packer? Are we planning to send the packers?" And I was like, I gritted my teeth and crossed my fingers and said, "I don't think so." So I reluctantly released them and said, "Don't worry about it." And it all came together. It worked out okay. I took the risk, I threw the dice, and it all worked out.
Excellent.
As part of the purging process, I did a lot of sorting, pulling some like things together. Not that my house was unsorted or scramblized, but because I had stations for functions in more than one place. So one example is office supply stuff. I had the bulk of my office supplies in my office, as one would expect, as well as some more in the kitchen junk drawer for easy access, and some next to the sofa where I sit and pay my bills. And I didn't want all those supplies packed in 3 different boxes. I wanted them all together in one place so that I could reevaluate where those stations would be in the new place. And that meant, as a part of the packing, I needed to sort some of those things together. Packing requires labels to be useful. And I labeled all the boxes with a room where it would end up. where it needed to be placed at the end. And in some cases, a content list so I could find important stuff quickly. I packed one kitchen box at the last minute, for instance, with the very few I had left myself, a couple plates, a couple bowls, a couple cups to use until the very end because my kitchen got packed up kind of early. That box got an open first label, so I would know if I opened it, I could start using dishes right away from that small supply that was carved out from my bigger collection. I will say that my unpaid workforce mislabeling a few boxes. So there are 3 or 4 boxes out of the 85 boxes that have no label at all. I have no idea what they are. But for friends' labor and me not packing all the boxes, I think that ratio of mystery boxes to label boxes is pretty good. We did pack for a very short trip. I actually bought a house that was on the next block from where I've been living. So the beads still needed careful wrapping to prevent breaking while the truck bounced. But the trip was so short around the corner that the risk was lower than normal for a regular move. If it had been a longer local trip or an out of town trip, my contents would have required much more extensive packing to make sure everything made it. I got lucky this time because of the short trip. Lastly, we did hand carry some things in bags by car, which was okay because of the short move, right? I was able to load 3 cars, including mine, that on the night before with hand carry boxes and bags filled with breakable or specialty or precious items. So I didn't have to worry so much about those items on move day. I made sure to park them inside closets that wouldn't receive other things or in the shower to prevent accidents during the move, and it all turned out well. That is one of the mistakes that clients make sometimes is they think that they can carry stuff over, and then they like put them up against the wall or they put things in the hallway, and then those things are actually in the way of the movers when it comes time for them to come in. And so I have a painting that's actually oil painted, a big piece of art that I got from my mother's house that I adore. I have a painting that's actually oil painted, a big piece of art that I got from my mother's house that I adore. And it doesn't have any glass on the front of it. And so the potential for damage there was really high. And I absolutely did not want anything to happen to that picture. So I took that flat on its back in my car and drove it around the corner and then went and put it inside my shower. So I didn't have to worry about the movers touching it. I knew exactly what was going on with it. And then it was completely out of the fray when the moving chaos started. That was another benefit of having short trips. Having a short trip is that I could throw a bunch of stuff in the car and drive it around and stash it out of the way of the movers and protect those things that were precious to me that I didn't want to risk being in the movers. Alternatively, if you can't do that if you're moving out of state, if you're moving 2 hours away, you can't make that happen in the same way. You can load up the car once at the end, but that's not going to cover probably all the things you want to protect, right? So in that case, you really have to put a bunch of effort into making all those precious things be very, very well packed. And that involves a lot of cushioning and a lot of boxes. And, you'll end up opening a box and taking one very precious thing out and unwrapping it from a mound of paper. But that's what you have to do to get those things that are precious onto the moving truck, driving across the state or country and out on the other end without breaking. So I was spared that level of packing expertise. I didn't have to work that hard because it was my job. My trip was so short. I also took the cats to the vet for boarding the night before, in case anybody's wondering, so they would not be hiding or panicking or being underfoot during the move. I always recommend that clients do that because if you have pets and you know this, you worry about them nonstop, and having the door open or locking them into a closet with the potential that somebody will accidentally open the door and let the animals out is really high. So I always tell clients, I know it bothers them to be at the vet, but they will be much less hysterical at the vet than they will be in the house with the 7 movers and all the noise that's happening. It will be way more stressful for them to be around for that. So I traipsed them off and I had realized I had never had both of the cats in carriers in my car at the same time. And they put up a singing chorus like you have never heard in your life. The two of them just encouraged each other to be more loud and yowly. And I did a video, an audio tape and clip and sent it to my friends. It was just like they were singing to each other and talking to each other and making each other more hysterical. It was a ride, let me tell you. but I dropped them off and then I didn't have to worry about them. Okay, so now we're at topic 3, which is move day. Finally, it was move day. And there are always a million last minute things to do. When I prep a client for a move, I aim for everything to be boxed the night before so the client can sleep a full night and wake up rested and be able to grab some breakfast before the move begins. I missed that target myself by a few hours, as it took me into the wee hours to complete the final packing. Whoops. The movers arrived promptly, and then it was just a matter of staying out of the way, answering questions, and making sure lunch arrived for the workers. We all want to, blank out that day because it's so stressful. But I want to remind you that the movers always uncover something when they pull furniture or boxes out or when they empty a closet. You always think everything's packed, but there's always some stash somewhere that you forgot. You need to expect that they're going to find something that you have to pack at the last minute. And if you have an organizer helping you, they will scour the house looking for those hidden caches to minimize the last minute stuff on move day, but be prepared to step in to pack something at the last minute. It just always happens.
And what was yours?
What was mine? Oh, so I have in the bedroom, I have a table that has a mail sorting unit that I use for storage. And
Hmm.
I had pulled out everything underneath it. But then when they pulled the table away, there were some poster board size supplies that had been stashed back there to be standing flat.
Hmm.
And I had forgotten about them. So when they pulled the table out, these things fell over. And I was like, oh, yeah, okay. That was one. And I'm wondering if there was something else. Oh, there was two little tiny drawers in my bathroom that were separate from the rest of the sink and cabinets. And I had pulled them out and said, oh, I need to pack that. And then I had forgotten to go back and pack them. So there was two little drawers that I had to go and throw into a bag and carry away at the last minute. There's always something. You get so used to your surroundings, you forget everywhere that you've been hidey holing things.
Right.
So once you get past loading the house and you get to the new place, then you really need to pay attention to the unloading. This is when your nerves will definitely be challenged. I had 7 guys coming in asking where stuff went for 4 hours straight. It's helpful if you have a plan in advance. You should really try to plan where the furniture will go so you can direct them. You don't really want to make those decisions on the fly. You certainly want them to set up everything. All the furniture needs to be put back together. They want to rebuild the beds and everything. So you want to make sure that they put them where you want them and that you know in advance where you want them so that they're not standing there holding the mattress and you're trying to figure out which way should I orient the bed in the room. Don't make them suffer. You need to figure that out in advance. And if you're labeled for your destination, then you can say office boxes go to the office, guest room goes to the guest room. If on the other hand, if the movers have packed for you, then the labels will be based on where they pack. So they're going to be in the kitchen. If they pack for you, they're in the kitchen. They're going to pack everything that says kitchen. That one obviously translates, but sometimes the rooms that you have in the old house don't line up with the rooms in the new house, and so you may have packed, a guest room, and it won't necessarily be in the same place or be used in the same way in the new place. So they're going to pack, if they pack for you, the labels are going to be old house, not new house. And you're going to have to be able to translate that for them to where you want them to go in the new house. So you think about that in advance. I have to tell you that the end of that day, 9 hours of a move, even I got decision fatigue. By the end, I was so exhausted, and 7 people saying, excuse me, ma'am, where is it supposed to go? And I was like, at the end, I was just like, I don't know the answer to that question. One of my friends turned around and asked me something. And I was like, I have no brain power to make a decision left. I have no idea. We're going to have to decide later. Just couldn't. I just couldn't. And so everybody runs out of steam, even the professionals. And I was running out of steam at the end. I did manage to get all the decor boxes in one section of the living room. All of the guest stuff, all the office stuff, all the BD stuff went in specific places. It all worked out. So I have not had to relocate boxes into a different place, or all the furniture ended up in the right room. So my movers did a great job, and I was super, super happy at the end. Now we are down to the last topic, which is unpacking. Unpacking is an ongoing project, but at least it doesn't have the same kind of deadline
Right.
that packing does. Like there's you lose the pressure. So this is where people fall off the wagon, right? We want to be done with the move because rolling up to the move has been so god awful. And so you're exhausted. You spent all that money. You've been boxing for weeks and you're over it. And I totally like I'm in that place. I totally get it. Which is why I scheduled my friend to come and help me. And so Penny has been here. Penny came on Saturday of move day, and some of my other friends came yesterday. And so I have had people coming to help me unpack, which is great. And we've been working on setting up the kitchen and getting the cats, stuff oriented and getting my bathroom set up. And so we're trying to immediately do the things that allow me to function. And then unpacking the fun stuff, unpacking the beads, unpacking the decor, making the house pretty has a longer timeline because I have, like everybody, I got to get back to work. I've had way too much time off lately. I need to get back to work. So we're doing the essentials right now, and tomorrow I go back to work. So I will pick up the unpacking mantle myself after Penny has gone home this week, and my little sister's coming out later in September to do a little bit more and help me some more. And so my unpacking will definitely be a longer process than the packing was, that's for sure. But by the end of this couple of days, certainly by the end of this week, I'm able to shower and get dressed. I'm able to make food and eat. I'm able to get out of the house and looking appropriate. And so,
Have you gotten into the unlabeled boxes yet?
no, no, I have four of them and I have not cracked into them yet. So I don't know what they are. And there's also boxes that somebody labeled forgotten closet. I don't know who did it. Somebody packed somewhere and they labeled the boxes forgotten closet. And I do not know what that means. So it's clearly it's some closet and I don't know what's in there. So I got to crack those open too. But, I'll just rip the tape off and see what's hiding in there. I'll give a report later.
Okay. What's your target?
To be
How,
unpacked.
yeah, how much time are you going to give yourself?
So we're in August, right? So
We're almost done with August.
yeah, so 2 months would be October. Like I would like to be packed by the time I
Um,
leave for Christmas. Unpacked, I mean, by the time we leave for Christmas, so that the house is pretty much set up by then. I may, hanging the artwork is a slower process for me. I'll have
right.
some of that done. I may not have all of that done, that kind of decorating stuff. And there's also this part of the process where you have to start buying things and adding things to make the house function how you want based on how it's
Right.
designed.
Right.
And so there's a little bit of that happening too. But I would hope to be done, September, October, November, December gives me 4 months to unwind what got wound up. And so I think I should be done by then.
Excellent.
Cross our fingers. We're all crossing our fingers,
Well,
right?
and some of the unpacking goes much more quickly than the packing. Like
Yes,
you're putting this, you're painstakingly wrapping and patting your dishes, but when they come out, you just shove them in the dishwasher or stick them in the cabinets to deal with later, and it's
exactly.
much faster than the packing. So that seems
Yeah.
like by the holiday break seems like it should be very doable.
And
Because I
that actually gives me the ability to get to it's going to get cooler and then I can rearrange the garage. There's
right.
always a bunch of stuff that you put in the garage to deal with later or to not bring in the house yet. And there's a collection of stuff that went to the garage and I need to rearrange the shelves and set up the garage how I want it, but I don't want to do that in the heat. Like I had to unwind my garage in the heat. That day was miserable. So I want to wait till the cooler months, which means I got to get to November or December to be able to work in the garage too. So yeah, that's where we are.
All right.
I'm on the back side, y'all. On the back side. Thank you so much.
Rebecca, who's with us on Facebook, says really important to walk through the house after the trucks are loaded to go to the
Yes.
other house too. Look behind doors, etc.
Well, and there was actually, so I packed all the artwork that was small that would either fit into bags or boxes, but I had 12 or 15 pieces that were extra large that would not fit into a regular moving box. And so I couldn't pack them, and they needed to take them down and do their thing with moving blankets to line them up in the truck. And when we did our walkthrough and we got back to my bedroom and there was two pieces of art hanging on the wall in the bedroom, it's like, no, y'all forgot some art. Come back here. So they had to come and take those two pieces down at the last minute. That was definitely, that walkthrough is super important. You're right.
Okay, let's see what we have in the way of comments. Rowan says, I watched a Japanese minimalist organizer and he just packed to move his stuff in 13 minutes.
I laugh at that. I definitely do not qualify as a Japanese minimalist then, because I failed that target by a long shot.
CG commented 85 boxes seems like a lot for one person.
You would think so. So I will remind you that I have a bead store.
Yeah, how many of those were just beads? Do you know?
Yes, let me think about that. So there was like 9 there, and there was 15 there. So what's that math, Ed?
24?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that there was probably 25 to 30 boxes of those 85 that were actually beads, because they had to be very well cushioned, and we had to individually wrap a lot of stuff. And that's my, like that's my hobby slash bead store that the typical person wouldn't have in their house. So um, if you take that out of the mix, then I'm, at 60 boxes instead. And maybe that's more regular household goods.
Catherine asked, did you hire someone to clean your prior space?
I am hiring somebody, that my regular
Your
housekeeper
housekeeper?
is coming to clean that out, and I'm happy to pay her the money. I'm just so
Oh
exhausted. I'm
yeah.
happy for her to come and do it.
Yeah,
So she's gonna
you don't want to have to set foot in there again once you've done
no.
all that. Oh my
No.
gosh.
And it is, it's 100% empty, so it won't be a problem for her to, there's nothing in her way or that's going to make it difficult to clean. So
Yeah.
she's going to do her thing, and it will be done, done, done.
And is everything, are all the spaces in the new house good to go, ready to use, or do you have to do anything like painting or?
Oh, no, no, no. The house that I bought had been renovated by flippers. So they bought the house from the original owner
Hmm.
from the 1970s, of all
Hmm.
things.
And
And
is it all painted in the standard interior gray?
actually, the walls are white.
Oh, nice.
It's black and white with some gold accenting in a few places, is how they did it. So, and there's some gray, like the cabinets in the kitchen are gray, the cabinets in the bathroom are gray. So it's black and white and gray background, and with a little hint of a muted matte finish gold around. And it was all fixed. So I don't have to do any of that kind of stuff. All the stuff that I have to do is about the yard, and doing things like, I can already tell that I want to alpha some of my closets. Like they
Right,
build the pantry, but there's only two, and the pantry is big enough, but there's only 2 shelves in the pantry. So who thought that was a good idea? Some stupid contractor, right? So I
right.
already can tell that I'm going to spend money down the line. I'm going to spend money on tricking out the pantry. I'm going to trick out the master closet with a different layout. That kind of stuff. I'm going to end up spending money in interior, in enhancing and upgrading the storage capacity,
Yeah,
storage quality. Really, there's
right.
plenty of storage, it's not laid out very well, so I'm gonna fix that.
Rebecca says, we had someone pack for and move us. They will wrap and pack trash too. LOL. As I unpacked, I have been able to declutter a tremendous amount of items to donate.
Right, and they have to pack the trash because they're not allowed to make any decisions about what, like, imagine if they threw something away that they thought it was trash and you said it was something precious. So they can't expose themselves to making the wrong decision about what's really trash or not.
And
And
what's,
so
I'm going to fix this.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
they are absolutely, if there's trash in the trash can, it goes in the box. They cannot make any choices about, this is actually a trash can and I should empty it. They're not allowed to do that. So
Well, no, and because, when you're packing and you're down to the end and you've run out of boxes, you're going to be wrapping stuff up and shoving it in trash cans too, you
Yeah,
know?
exactly.
So, um, Marcia asked, when you help people declutter, do you ever get to keep something that might be useful to you?
So here's the thing. That's always a
Yes,
great
but
idea.
it's a big yes, but
Yes, but if you imagine how many people I declutter in a week, I have 8 client appointments during the week and usually 1 or 2 on the weekend. So that's me interacting with between 8 and 10 people a week, every week of the year, offering me stuff. And if I took all that stuff with me, I would be drowning in things. So I won't say that it doesn't happen. Every once in a while, something will be like, oh my gosh, that's the cat food that my cat likes to eat. And you don't want it. Can I have it? Like I will, if it's something that I absolutely will use, and half of a percent of the time, I will take something for myself. But I always, because I represent that I'm donating it all, if I'm going to divert it from the donation pile, I want to tell the client that it's not going to it's not going to the donation place that we talked about. I'm asking permission to have this for myself so that they know it doesn't go where they originally thought it was going to go.
or asking permission to drive it over to your friend's house who would be interested in some of this category.
Yeah. I did that for Ed a few times with kitchen gear.
Whenever Gayle cleaned out a kitchen, I got to upgrade my collection of things, and like, oh, look, this here's an immersion blender that's better than the one I have. I'll take this one and here give Gayle the cheaper one, the crappier one to donate.
Right. So most of the time, I see so many people, I see so much stuff, I can't possibly, like, if you imagine, if I kept one thing a week, that would still be 50 things at the end of the year. Can't possibly do that. So 99 out of 100 times, it's going straight to donation. I don't even think about it. And I've learned over the years, 2 or 3 times a year, somebody might throw something my way that I'm willing to ask about permission to keep it for myself. And people are really generous about it, and they're always really sweet. They've already decided usually to let it go, so it's not a problem. But yeah, that is the slippery slope that all organizers have to manage. You're going to see a lot of stuff when you declutter people's houses. It's going to be a massive mountain of things moving past you, and you cannot get attached to things going by. You have to let it go, because otherwise you will drown in your own client stuff. And so, no, got to be super careful about that.
Maureen says, I don't think I've ever been so invested in someone else's move. Love the fortune cookie fortune you found, Gayle.
Oh,
I saw
isn't
that.
that
I saw that on
awesome?
Facebook. I forget what did it say?
It said, if you anybody that goes to bed the same day they got up is a quitter.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I forgot.
That's like night owl mantra right there for sure. But it was also very appropriate during the move. It's like, yeah, I can't afford to go to bed like a regular person. I need to be packing. I need to be packing stuff. And so it is part of the discipline of packing. You always think, oh, I'm tired. I need to go to bed. It's like, no, you don't. You need to pack some more, because you need to pack one more box past when you want to quit, because you will talk yourself out of packing, and then you'll get to the end and you will not be ready. So yeah, I forced myself to pack in moments when I was like, oh, really wish I wasn't packing. And nobody loves packing. Okay, that's not true. I know some organizers that think packing and unpacking is fun. I do it. I don't think it's the bomb. And I get a satisfaction out of getting a client ready and making sure that they have a stress-free move. But it was very stressful for
It's
me.
it's definitely still work. Deborah says, I'm currently wearing a watch from a decluttering project.
Oh,
Deborah's helped several friends.
mm-hmm.
She so successfully minimized herself. She has helped some other people.
Which is
And
awesome.
and she says, I usually ask if they want me to make something disappear. I take their things and bring them to donation places, but occasionally, oh, she didn't finish that. This diving watch. She didn't finish the
Occasionally
sentence.
they diverted. They
Right,
divert to her is
right.
probably what she's saying. Yeah.
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 Yeah, she's occasionally this diving watch I kept. Um, Marcia asked, if you had been able to start 6 months ago, what would you have been able to do differently? How would you have prevented procrastination?
So if I had been able to start 6 months earlier, then I would have done all the same things. I just would have done them with less stress because I still would have gone through all of the rooms. Part of my stress was in prepping for the move. I went around all of the places in the house looking for things to get out, and because my time frame was compressed, I was trying to do that, and it was using up packing time to do this, to do the purging part. And so if I had had 6 months, I would have been able to make my way comfortably and without stressing around the house to get all the purging done. And then, I could have done that for a couple of months, and then I would have been have 4 months to strategically pack myself out in a time frame that was not so fatiguing and so stress inducing for me. That would have been much better. And then I could have packed at night. I could have packed on the weekends. I wouldn't have had to have an army of people come and help me. I could have done more of it myself and not had to call in all my favors to my friends. And so it just would have allowed me to do it consistently, but at a pace that was, I could sleep more at night and I could be less stressed out about trying to get ready. That would have really helped. I saw something go by that said, "What's an Alpha?" Alpha is a
Oh,
brand of closet system that the Container Store sells. And so what I'm talking about is tearing out the existing layout of the closet and putting in a specific closet system that has better storage, is better capacity, and will make it easier to function in that closet.
and alpha is mostly like enameled steel, right? It's like
Mm-hmm.
sort of steel baskets with
And wire racks and
wire
wire
racks that
shelving and
drawer drawers and shelves that slide
mm-hmm,
and bins that will slide on rails, right?
mm-hmm. Yeah, and you can design, you can give the dimensions of the room and where the doors are, and then they can pre-design where all the stuff can go and adjust rods versus sliding drawers and things based on your own content. So you can request, I want this many rods, I want this many hanging drawers, I want this many racks for shoes, and they can custom design it based on what you have and what the ratios of your contents are, clothes to shoes to other objects. Do you want to store your underwear and pajamas in there, or are they going to be somewhere else and they don't need to be in the closet? Like, you can adjust those based on what kinds of things you own and what you want in the closet versus not. And so I'm going to do that later.
Jane
And
says, wait for one of the alpha sales.
Yes, that's right. Yes. Alpha goes on sale in January here. So I will probably be one of those people that goes stomping off to to the Container Store in January to get a closet sale happening.
Marcia asked, is there anything that you purged that you're already regretting?
Not a
Not
thing.
yet.
Mm-mm, not at all.
Do you
Yeah,
think
I
it's
don't, even when I have a trouble making the decision, even I'm like, I give it away, and then I'm like, I'm done. I don't think about it anymore because I always know I can recover. I trust that I can recover. Even if I gave away something that I'm sad about, I know that I can recover. I can come up with a new solution. I can get a new piece of art. So I do not, I
you don't
hardly ever, ever, ever regret.
you don't second guess much?
Mm-mm, mm-mm.
All right, let's talk about next week.
Okay.
I want to let everyone know that we'll be back next week for our live webcast on Tuesday, September 3rd at the usual time. Do your decluttered spaces seem to collect even more clutter after you organize than they contained before? It can be a challenge to modify your thinking and habits to maintain clear space. Next week, we're going to examine habitual behaviors of clutter recidivists and suggest strategies for breaking patterns that lead back to clutter. This topic was suggested by Summer, who asked us for help identifying signs of the recluttering cycle. So join us on September 3rd for Clutter Redux, how to shift habits that lead to recluttering. Gayle, why don't you give us the tittle?
Okay, so this week's tittle is move debris. This week's assignment is to process something in your space that's left over from a previous move. Review your space to identify any of the following types of moved debris: a box, bag, or bin of contents that you tucked away in a closet or other hidden spot and then never unpacked after you got it there. An item of furniture you brought from your previous home that has never really fit or worked well in your current space. And I have to tell you, I'm giving away at least 5 pieces of furniture that don't work because of the layout of the new house. An item of decor from your previous space that doesn't match the style or aesthetic of your current space. My color scheme is going to change, right? Because in the old house, the walls were a yellow, softer yellow. In the new house, the walls are white with black, gray accents. So the color palette's completely changed. So some of the stuff that I bought to go with the old house ain't going to make sense. It's, out it's going to go. Some of that's already been donated, but I'm sure I'm going to find more. A duplicate or a redundant item that made sense in a previous larger space, but doesn't fit or isn't necessary in your downsized space.
For someone else, I'd say the crock pot example.
Yes,
You could
exactly. The crock pot example. I
downsize
don't
from
need
2 to
to.
get rid of the second one.
Right? A housewarming gift that you've never used, needed, or enjoyed. I'm sure some of your friends brought gifts, and it was like just like any other gift giving season. Sometimes you get gifts that don't work. So now's the time to let that item go. And then go looking for the empty boxes, the packing material, the tape, or the other moving supplies that are beyond any future need that you can anticipate. And let's pull those things out and send them on to somebody that is in the middle of the move right now. I'm sure you can find somebody. Make a plan to sell, donate, recycle, or discard that item that you identified this week and move it on out of the house. And then come back and tell us how it went. Well, can't wait to hear about it.
Okay, if you're watching this on YouTube, we would love for you to join us live. To get notifications about upcoming events, we invite you to join the meetup group by visiting cfhou.com/meetup. Guess what Gayle packed and doesn't know where it is?
Our signs are in a box somewhere and they will reappear eventually.
You can also follow us on Facebook by visiting cfhou.com/Facebook or join our mailing list by visiting cfhou.com/subscribe. We love to hear from you, so please keep your questions, comments, and topic suggestions coming on YouTube, Facebook, or anywhere that you find us. You can always reach us through our website at clutterfairyhouston.com.
Thanks everybody for joining me today. And we are so happy to be back. And I am so happy that you guys were so kind to me on all of the media channels. And when I was feeling discouraged and overwhelmed, everybody was sending me, "You got this," little messages, and everybody was super encouraging. I really appreciate that. I laughed as somebody said they've never been so invested in a move. I don't think I could have done it without you guys sending me little messages and cheering me on. So really, really appreciate it. And you made this trauma for me much more bearable. So thank you so much. And we will look forward to seeing you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.